Thanks, Lisa, and thanks for having us on stage again. This is, I guess, the 5th year that we're doing this. Indeed, today we're going to soft launch the Voice of Digital Leaders in Manufacturing 2026. And we're super excited in doing that and hope that after this session you have a lot of questions for us in general. My name is Vincent van Hellemondt. I'm Global Vertical Lead for Industrial Manufacturing within Valtech. And together with me on stage,
I'm Vera Schnitzlein, Strategy Director at Valtech, and together we have conducted this beautiful study and excited to share the results.
All right, so let's get to it. All right, so today we first represent Valtech. Valtech is a digital company positioned as the experience innovation company, and we basically help businesses and brands create connected experiences around digital. You would especially know us for creating, advising, and implementing digital solutions like e-commerce platforms, digital marketing platforms, data and AI platforms. But that's not why we're here today. So as already mentioned, we're here to introduce and soft launch the Voice of Digital Leaders in Manufacturing 2026. The Voice of Digital Leaders is an annual report where we survey 100 plus leaders in the industry and basically assess the state of digital in this industry. And we've now done that for already a couple of years. And this year we wanted to do it differently because this year is the 5th year anniversary. And we decided to conduct in-depth interviews with a selected group of leaders to really talk about what's actually on their mind from a day-to-day business. And we actually have 3 leaders in the room. 2 of them have already been on stage, so thanks Maurice and Thomas. But also Tanya, who's here somewhere today as well, shared a lot of insights with us and basically had great conversations with them. But why did we want to go into detail? Well, the past years we had quite some similar results during the surveys. A huge amount of digital manufacturers were not able to offer a seamless experience towards customers, nor were they able to use personalized data to attract and retain customers themselves. And simultaneously, we saw that the amount of growth within the digital channels was stagnating year over year. So all elements where we thought, let's go into detail and talk about, how can we actually enable that? All right, and then you talk about an interview and we want to compare results as well. So we decided on a semi-structured interview setting, which covers 4 lenses. And those are the 4 lenses that we also use when advising companies around digital in general. We talk about what the market is doing and basically the market dynamics that shape investments and decisions. We talk about the customer experience in general, so how centralized are customers for these organizations and how do they affect the day-to-day business. We talk about the business and organization in general. In essence, how are you organized around digital and what kind of change management practices do you have in order to increase adoption? And obviously we talk about technology and data. So what kind of technology backbones do you have in order to deliver the experiences that you want to deliver to customers? So without further ado, let's dive into the results that we received and saw this year. And let's start with the first lens, market. There's an industrial recession currently taking place. As a result, the demand is pretty much subdued. In this environment, you're trying to protect your market share and increase the contribution margin. This was quite an exemplary quote by Jatinder Singh from Greif. The market is under pressure, and you see that in obviously the pressure on prices, the focus on efficiency in general, but still also the lack of excessive budgets to start with digital or continue with digital initiatives. While simultaneously we've seen that uncertainty and change is a constant factor because basically since COVID, everybody has talking about the market is uncertain and the pressure on the market. So we've asked the leaders to describe how they see the market in only one word. And the majority is saying that they think the market is super challenging. However, some of them are also talking about opportunity, especially around businesses that are in a fast-growing environment. We got a semiconductor example already, but obviously also the defense industry and the supply towards the defense industry at this moment is very successful. On the same side, we hear a lot of overarching goals, and we want to strive for sustainable, profitable growth. And what a container word this is, right? Because on the one hand, we're talking about a balance between being more efficient as an organization. On the other hand, everybody is wanting to achieve growth because that's basically the economic background we're all in. Well, and if you are under pressure as an organization, that means you need to make disciplined decisions under pressure. And I want to give an example where that deems very difficult at the moment: artificial intelligence. The huge amount of organizations are struggling with making decisions across what does AI do for us? Does it make our organization more efficient, or do we need to use AI to assist our customers and grow the business in general? All right, we've started to talk about the market. Vera, let's talk a little bit about experience.
Let's move on to the experience part. Before I do that, before I deep dive a little bit into what we've heard in 2026 now, I'd like to start with kind of a clarification of what we even mean when we talk about experience. It's a quite a vaguely defined term, and I'm pretty sure there are 50 people here in the room, and we will probably, if we would ask ourselves, 55 definitions of what is experience. So we at Valtech, what do we mean when we talk about experience? And also in the study, we talk about the connected experience, a connected customer and partner experience across the whole journey, across the whole funnel. So connected teams we are talking about. We are talking about connected technology and also connected data. Very important. I think we've also touched that a couple of times today. And these organizations that are providing a connected customer and partner experience, we call the connected manufacturer. In a way, kind of a target picture for us, because we do know that value can be created from that. So in 2026, what did we hear? Let's start with a quote, which is kind of representing nicely, which was the kind of the major determining kind of discussion in all interviews or across all interviews. Happy employees make happy customers. So thank you for Tanya from Room for that. And why did we pick that? Because it's interesting for us, I think, because to a large extent, when we were talking about customer and partner experience, we were not even talking about customer and partner experience. We were talking about the employee experience. And I think, Thomas, you have touched on that, and we've heard it in the ABB talk as well. It starts with the internal experience. It starts with the employees being able to work with the tools, being able to work with the solutions. So in a way, we are moving away from just only talking about the customer experience and then adding kind of another part, which is the employee experience. We picked that as kind of a newcomer within the three major points I would like to highlight within the experience category, because it also, for us, is a sign that the industry has gained maturity. The discussions are getting more advanced. A couple of years ago, we were talking a lot about how to come up with or what building blocks would a customer and partner experience need. And in these last discussions, they were very much moving on to this internal perspective, for us an interesting point. Then number two, there was quite some discussion around where the value would sit. Because we are not doing customer experience for customer experience, we are doing customer experience to create value. What kind of value and where does it sit? Interestingly here is that we are moving away, it seems, a little bit from optimizing touch points and single points within the journey towards optimizing workflows and whole journey parts. So people are not, and leaders are not so much talking anymore about optimizing the portal itself, but they are talking about optimizing the lead to order flow, optimizing the order to cash flow. We've heard a lot about that from Ines already. optimizing the issue to resolution workflow, which is essentially the service journey. So it's really about defining and finding and identifying the customer value within these journeys, so essentially developing a customer value map across the whole journeys. And then you can also prioritize and build a roadmap from that. And then number 3, also interesting for us, is that experience, or kind of the currency in which digital leaders in the manufacturing industry are talking about experience, is very much operational capability related. So it's not about just enhancing experience quality using like lofty terms, maybe even referring to design things, which is something, by the way, we very often hear in the consumer goods industry. This is different here. So the kind of the currency for experience is really time to quote, handovers, visibility. So it's really, we learn from that experience is seen as an operational capability. Also different than the discussions and findings we had from previous years. Moving on to business and organization, which is, I think, the consequent next step, because there is this aim and there is an ambition for experience, but then also the question, okay, how to make that happen and what does it take? Also here, let's start with a quote. Building an alliance of the willing is often the key to lasting change. This is kind of metaphoric, because also here we had one major topic driving the discussion, which is essentially the experience operating model. It seems to be the case that the manufacturing industry has moved on from only caring about business operating model to really moving on to experience operating model, meaning it's about processes, it's about technology, and it's also about people and the interface and the interplay between the three. So consequently, we detected or identified 3 shifts actually from compared to previous years to what we heard now recently. Shift number 1, experience is not so much seen anymore as an outcome, in a sense that it's a KPI, it's something I want to deliver. It seems to be more to be something that is a core capability that needs to be managed. Consequently, logically, shift number 2, we heard a lot about running journeys, management, accountability, governance of experience. So we are moving away a little bit from launching just an initiative for a defined period of time, and then this is ready and shipped and live, and I can forget about it. There is a great acknowledgement of the fact that delivering excellent customer and partner experience requires ownership and a capability model around it. And then shift number 3, also interesting to see, because we are also always asking the question, okay, who is owning that? Or is there even an ownership for customer and partner experience? For us, we always, if clients ask us the question, we always say, well, not one single team or one single department owns the customer. No one owns the customer. It is a shared and joint responsibility. But there also needs to be accountability. And we see this moving a little bit away from technical departments more and closer to the business. This has pros and cons, I think. But it is a fact that it's moving away a little bit from the IT department and CIO responsibility, so to say. Which also actually aligns quite nicely to the fact, what we heard earlier, that it's really seen as an operational capability. So much for that.
All right, then let's move to the last lens, which is about technology, data, and AI. And as I already mentioned, that is about making sure and enable the experiences that you actually want to deliver. And we really see a shift and more realism about the current state of technology in general. The previous years, we heard a lot of complaints, to be honest, complaints about siloed data, about legacy systems and not being able to move forward. But as I mentioned, it looks like there's more realism about what we can do. And the leaders summarized that in 3 main elements. So first of all, organizations are better able to implement and create shared integration patterns. And that's obviously super important when you have these multi-business area, division, and country organizations like we heard with ABB and Atlas Copco. A second point is evolving data models. Yes, sure, everybody is struggling around data and around improving the quality of data. But on the other hand, many organizations are seeing data as a product more, which can be used across the organization instead of only from a point-to-point solution. And we really see a shift or a change in terms of data quality over the year. And like Vera already mentioned, there also is a real clear ownership of technology versus how you operate platforms and the business itself. We more and more come across to organizations or organization setups like teams that are focused on sales and service excellence and thus have the whole digital portfolio in their team. But we also need to talk about artificial intelligence because if you talk about the biggest opportunities and threats the leaders have mentioned, this was the primary one. And Thomas, thanks for the quote. I think using AI to improve operations is only as good as your data, and improving your data makes its value increase over time. And this is not a project, it's an iterative process. And that's exactly what we've already heard from Maurice and from Thomas earlier. Organizations are iteratively implementing certain AI toolings and initiatives. But let's put it to the test. 2 questions. First question, who in his organization is testing or using AI from a broad perspective in general? Almost everybody. Okay, who is using individually yourselves AI on a daily basis? Almost everybody. Okay, we've did similar questions and also in a survey last year and or roughly 1.5 years ago, and the outcome was completely different. In 2025, only 30% of leaders thought that advanced decision-making was being done by LLMs or AI in general. Well, look at the room now. Everybody is talking at least about adopting an AI and using it themselves. Previously, they were also very much talking about why AI is not possible. Legal issues, lack of inconsistent data. But now everybody is catching up on the reality and is basically just doing it. So that means that you need to think about how AI can build value, but it also means that you are starting to face the AI risks. And we want to pick out basically 2 risks that this leader shared with us. 1, there's a big ambiguity about the priorities of AI, and this links with the everlasting discussion about do we want to grow as an organization or do we want to be more efficient as an organization? We already heard it at our roundtable as well. Organizations are often not clear enough about where AI can bring value on the short term and build strategy around that. And simultaneously, if you look at the leaders out there, they still miss the lack of judgment or are unable to judge where that value is going to bring in an organization. What also was important or interesting to look at is the amount of AI or technology archetypes or the way people think about implementing these AI opportunities. And we could distinct 3 main archetypes: builders, accelerators, and optimizers. And I want to talk about the first 2. So because the majority of the people we spoke to were either builders or accelerators. So we spoke to builders, people that are really aiming on a artificial intelligence fundament over the whole organization and want to start with that can do it right mentality. But we also spoke with a lot of accelerators. I think Maurice and Thomas, more your focus. The ones that prioritize speed over large AI programs and want to prove value quickly. And at this moment, we can't conclude yet who will bring the most value to an organization, but we do know that when you scale, you also need to have builders in your organization to really that really set that AI fundament. And we are actually quite interested what happens over the next years and which of those archetypes will make the most impact in the organizations. So we ask you to think about who are you as an archetype when you start with AI. And we also ask you, do we need other archetypes in our organizations as well? All right, that was the soft launch of the Voice of Digital Leaders in 2026. If you are at our roundtable, there's a small leaflet or flyer which leads to a QR code. You can there pre-register and download the Voice of Digital Leaders in Manufacturing. We are super curious about your feedback because we want to build a community and also connect the community and provide insights to the community. Lisa, thanks for having us on stage again for the 5th year. We're super happy to be here again, and let's talk B2B.
We'll stand in the middle. Yes. Thank you, both of you. Now this feels weird. Now I don't know where to look. Any questions? How many agree with these trends in general? Do you see the overarching types? Yeah, of course. Thomas agrees with himself.
Yeah.
Thomas, it's amazing you haven't changed your mind yet. You know. But
also a good thing.
Yeah, it's a good thing. I mean, we can all be agile, but that's a little bit too agile, maybe. But joking aside, what is the biggest difference? I mean, we've done this for 5 years.
Yes,
we've done this for 5 years. So what is the biggest difference that you see and pick up that we haven't seen before?
Will you start with the experience?
It's really, we feel the industry has indeed advanced also in the discussions, and the maturity has really increased. In some points, interestingly, B2B seems to be further advanced than B2C. We always have the feeling, I think, that we are behind, not in every respect. I think this is due to the complexity, because if we are doing something, we need to get it right. We can't just throw something out. There is no easy sales, or not that many in B2B. So I think we are catching up in a way.
Good. And your takeaway this year?
Yeah, in general, if you talk about the past 5 years, while we've been doing this, the amount of maturity or the level of maturity has been exponentially increased the past years. And for me, exemplary is how digital is embedded in organizations. From an experience point of view, it's a real capability. It's not something you strive for, but it's actual capability in an organization. And then, we all think about AI still as a buzzword, but look around you how many use it on a daily basis compared to last year. It's something special. I gave an example at our roundtable. I was talking to a retailer a couple of months back. And why do I do that? Because I want to see what's the cross-coordination between retail, for instance, and manufacturing. And the head of marketing of this retailer had a team of 20 FTE really focused on marketing activities. And they use, on average, 23 AI tools in their whole business process. And they were able to reduce 3 to 4 FTE in the past half a year alone with AI tooling. And we all know we're not there yet. We all see the struggle on where to start. But that it is something that can help us make our organization more efficient is evident.
But you're mentioning an interesting point. In the earlier reports, we saw this hockey stick development in digital investments, right? And then it's kind of stagnated, because when you reach a certain level, you don't keep on increasing maybe the investment, you maintain them. But how many of you are increasing digital investments going forward in your organizations? Okay, quite a few. And how many are about maintaining them? So this is also interesting. So half is maintaining or increasing, and the other half is reducing probably. But then on the other hand, we're also expecting a lot of AI projects to take off ground, right? So it's a little bit of a contradicting, prophecy here. It's like we want to do more. So this is going to be interesting to follow. So I look forward to next year's report as well. But for those of you who haven't downloaded, sign up for it. It's a great read. I recommend it highly. So thank you, Valtech. And now join me for lunch outside.